We are now back to the AquaBlack Podcast. Today we are going to be talking about revolutionary marketing. And we're going to be talking about companies like Apple and what made them so successful. Obviously, marketing and advertisement had to play a very crucial role in their success. So we're going to kind of analyze Apple's marketing strategy. And kind of see what made them so successful. Yeah, like I said. Okay, so some of the topic points I'm going to hit on is Apple's simplicity in their marketing. In this one article, there was like a study conducted by CEB that basically said, to sum it up, it basically said the most effective way to reach consumers isn't through like elaborate and complex websites or ads. But rather just like simplifying the decision-making process. Like, I feel like people are just very naturally, indecisive. They have a hard time making a choice on something, and they just need the purpose of marketing should be to simplify that. Should be that here's why you want to buy Apple. Here's the things that you care about. That's it, and that's kind of what led to their success. So, it's basically presenting exactly what the consumers need to know while leaving out the rest, and streamlining the decision making process. Some of the like things that made Apple so extraordinary was they were able to turn the ordinary into something beautiful, kind of thing. This is an article written by kissmetrics.com, and it basically says like for an iMac, just even the simple things like the aluminum build on an iMac or a MacBook, they made it sound amazingly like just spectacular. Like for the iMac, they said the tapered pedestal. That little thing that stands the iMac on, they called it the tapered pedestal. Another victory over clutter. The finely tapered aluminum pedestal practically disappears on the desktop. It just makes it sound so sleek and amazing. Redesigned speakers. New speakers deliver louder, clearer sound with better bass response and less distortions.
So feeding off of that, like, I remember in the past, I'm going to say the past for a reason, Apple's, the way you would buy, an Apple device was, you didn't have many choices, obviously. You had, for instance, iPhone, back in the day, you had iPhone. That's why it was like the phone.
Yeah.
That they had. And so you had one choice, iPhone, you had one choice, iPad. You had, like, at the time, you had one choice, MacBook. You didn't have the Pro at the time, early days.
Yeah.
And then, you only had your choice of, unfortunately, you did have a choice. And if you want to be a pro, for instance, you had your Mac Pro, for pro people. Yeah, and you had your iMac for just the general. Yeah. So you knew exactly what you needed.
Exactly. Different products for different uses.
But obviously, other companies would come out later on, not later on, but other companies that you see that makes them a little less is that, for instance, you want a 15-inch, 13-inch, 11-inch, this. Yeah. Obviously the Apple doesn't do that now.
Exactly.
But, back in those, other days, they did it that way, and it really, kind of changed the game. It made it easy to make a purchase, and that's what it was. You didn't think about it. You just showed up to, say, the Apple Store, tried it out, played with it, and that was it.
And to add more onto that, it was like the way, like another reason what made Apple so successful, was they were able to communicate in the language of the audience. So, like Kissmetrics said, it's basically like they don't bombard the consumer with like talk that doesn't really make sense to them or jargon that really doesn't make sense to them. Like for the average consumer, they don't know what gigahertz is, like, or processing power, like the A7 chip. They don't know about like megabytes, or they might be educated on megabytes, but this kind of thing for just the day-to-day consumer, it's kind of like all cell phones or MacBooks or laptops kind of should be at this pedestal specifications, but then they don't just bombard the consumers with jargon. Like if you look at the Apple's product page, you'll find that they do discuss about product specifications, but it's like in the technical information, it's really kind of hidden. So instead, they like make up new phrases or names like edge to edge glass or Retina display. They're not going to give you the resolution of the screen
because that's numbers and jargon.
Yeah, that's jargon. So they'll say Retina display. They'll dress it up in a beautiful name. Retina obviously being your a part in your eye. LED backlighting. They're not going to say, oh, well, the LED takes up this amount of usage. Just say LED backlight. Like it's amazing. Simple. Exactly.
And feeding off of the name part, even in that same article for Kissmetrics, Kissmetrics, it says become the name. So I really like this article in that, for instance, you don't buy tissues, you buy Kleenex.
Exactly.
You don't say that. You don't buy MP3 players, you buy an iPod. It makes it really simple that you're just buying an iPod, which is an MP3 player. Even off this topic, when I don't know if you've ever like seen in public, anytime someone has like an Android tablet specifically, since that's the other big company, everyone just wonders, is that an iPad? What kind of iPad is that? Yeah, they don't ever acknowledge that it's a tablet computer, which is what it is. They say everything is an iPad, just like game consoles to my parents.
Yeah, tablets.
Everything is a Nintendo to my parents. Yeah, even though there's other companies that do it.
They've dominated the market.
They've completely destroyed the market. It's crazy.
And part of the reason why is because like the things that I've listed, and also they extend beyond the purchasing experience. Like the Apple experience, it doesn't end at the cash register. Like Kissmetrics also said, it basically says like they take great care in distinguishing the user experience. Like even the Apple package for an iPhone, those are really highly sought after. Unboxing videos are so sensational to watch someone open an iPhone because it comes in this amazing, just stylistically appealing package, and it's also like you're also entered into the Apple ecosystem now, and it builds that brand loyalty that people naturally gravitate towards.
Yeah, because if you think about it, even though if you notice with the iPhone, if you've had multiple, you notice that technically in the box of pretty much every iPhone except for like the 7 going, every single box has come with the exact same thing. But yet when you go on YouTube when one is coming out or has come out, people want to watch it like what's in the box, even though every single box has the exact same thing. It has a charger, a cable, headphones.
So appealing.
That's it. And the phone obviously and those manuals. But every single iPhone has the same thing except for obviously the 7-Up, which all to have a little dongle thing.
Yeah, the dongle.
But even after the 7, all the iPhones come with the exact same thing. There's nothing new, but yet everyone wants to keep watching what is in it.
Yeah, and apparently they spend like just as much time and effort, packaging the product than they do on the products themselves. Like the Apple for the iPhone, the package that comes in, even the MacBook, it's very appealing. It's just very appealing, and I think part of the reason why Apple is so gravitated towards why people gravitate towards Apple so much is because not only it's the user experience, the packaging, the commercials, how like very simplistic Apple is, and it builds this brand loyalty, and it builds a tribe. Now there's a cult of Apple followers,
Well, we've seen the old, I saw the old Mac commercials.
Exactly.
From like the 90s or something like that.
Yeah.
They made it seem like a cult. It was like in a dark room, and when Mac was coming out, like they pulled the blinds, and it became really bright and like blind everyone, and it was like Mac or something like that. I don't know exactly, but it said something like that, and I was like, as dumb as this looks, for us current standards, back then that was a revolution to those people, because we're not saying just Apple does this stuff, but they were the ones that who really wanted to push the whole simplicity thing.
Exactly, and it propelled a new age of what other people would call fanboys, Apple fanboys, and they've honestly dominated the market. Now, an ordinary looking Apple with a bite on the side is all of a sudden
just
such
Apple company.
Yes, such a staple. It's like the first designer phone kind of. You
recognize exactly what it is.
Exactly, and they'll make something so that might not look the best. They'll dress it up in the Apple keynotes or press notes or press releases. They'll make it sound so appealing.
So there's this article here from Smithsonian Magazine, actually. So this paragraph reads this. It says, Steve Jobs' love of simplicity and design was honed when he became a practitioner of Buddhism. And obviously Buddhism is about really being simple, and And after dropping out of college, he made a long pilgrimage through India seeking enlightenment, but was mainly Japanese path of Zen. Zen was a deep influence. It says a college friend who accompanied Jobs on the trip said, "You see it in his whole approach to the stark minimalist aesthetics, intense focus." It says, and Steve Jobs said, "I always found Buddhism, Japanese Zen Buddhism in particular, to be aesthetically sublime," which is really simple, simple. Yeah. So basically, from the packaging, from the design, from the marketing, it's actually all pretty simple. In fact, now we have other companies like Microsoft now picking up on that with Surface and stuff, where they're doing simple packaging. Even the packaging is designed well. It's not like, oh, this is a nice computer, but it's going to be in a crappy box. Yeah. We're not getting that anymore. And Samsung, same thing. Everyone's now feeding off of that. And so, clearly something big has changed from that.
Absolutely. And, another reason what makes Apple so great is they leverage reviews. Like you've mentioned on the previous podcast, when you were talking about your videos in Microsoft and how you used to review tech products. Well, the Apple would honestly give customers like a free trial sample kind of thing where they'll exchange, product for a testimonial or review of their product. And they're happy to give it away. It's like most customers will be happy to get a discount code. Apple would gladly give you an iPhone review. They're like, okay, well, it's publicity for us. Well, earlier then, I don't know if it's the case now.
Well, I don't want to jump into it too much, but like a lot of companies, a lot of starkiness about that kind of stuff. Yeah. Because it's like, there's been a lot of controversy, especially about the newest stuff that came out, 8 and 10. So I don't want to get into that, but really into the topic,
Well, obviously you have to be like a pretty big reviewer.
Yeah. I mean, there's a controversy that came up recently. Actually, you know what? I'll feed off the topic and kind of speaking with this. So there was a controversy in the past, not in the past, like a couple months. Yeah. When iPhone 10 and iPhone 8 and 8 Plus came out. Yeah. How they gave it to YouTubers, like 7 or so, very few YouTubers, and they gave them only a week to review it. So obviously, you're not going to be able to do much in a week. Yeah, without a doubt. And so the reviews were really kind of biased because they didn't get to find the true issues of the phones. Yeah. Like, obviously, I have iOS 11 right now, and I've had problems with it.
Insanely smart on Apple's.
Yeah. It's smart because all the good reviews come out for the positive stuff. So then people buy it because they hear the positive stuff. Yeah. So in a way, even though it's dirty marketing, it's still smart.
Still smart.
It's dirty but smart. Yeah. And obviously later on, the true reviews come out that like they truly get to sit down with it for like a month, and they're like, okay, this is it. But point is, like, they handed out their phones. I don't know how it was in the past, obviously. Actually, they handed out their phones, and they were like, here it is to you select few. Yeah. And you select few, I guess, I don't know the backstory, like the whole NDA stuff about that stuff, but it's like you select few, do a review on it, take a look at it, what do you think? Obviously, with a week, you can't really find too many issues with it. Absolutely. So then everything is positive.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you say that because, like, have you ever seen Mad Men? Don Draper?
I think I've seen it once.
Well, Mad Men, right? Don Draper is the main character, and when he sells product or when companies come to him, he's an ad man, by the way. He for some products he wanted to give that executive feel, right? Give that premium feel to whatever product that he is advertising for. Apple does the same thing with their iPhones. They give that premium build, that premium feel to it to make it feel like you have an amazing product in your hand, or whatever product you're using. So, and they don't engage in another reason is like they don't engage in price fluctuations. They kind of stick to their own price. Obviously, it's definitely higher, much higher than the competition, and they focus on unique value proposition. Like, they expect that you're going to buy their product because it has more value than just the dollar amount. You get what I'm saying? It has that premium. You're now entered into this ecosystem. You've joined this like very loyal fan base, and now you're part of the Apple family.
So what I also noticed was trying to get my mind across. What I also noticed was that, like the simplicity in buying, where you have pretty much one device that does exactly the type of thing you need, and you're not thinking about specs, honestly, too much. Yeah. Most people, like if you buy a PC, a regular PC, and not a Mac, You're thinking about specs, most likely. Regular people are not looking at specs, but the other half are looking at specs. The other few are looking at specs. Apple doesn't really talk too much about specs. Like you said, they don't do like, oh, this display is having a 2700 by whatever display
with 2.4 gigahertz.
Yeah, 3.4 gigahertz. You know, they kind of, I don't know about nowadays, but I think they partially do that nowadays, but they don't really tell you the whole resolution. They just say this has a Retina display or whatever it is.
Super Retina display.
Super Retina,
that's the new one. Yeah.
Is that even a new one?
Yeah, it's called Super Retina display.
Really?
Sounds amazing.
Sounds really fancy.
It does.
But it's just like, you know, that's that's right there. Yeah. It sounds really fancy.
Yeah.
I want to be fancy, so I'll get an Apple product. Yeah. That's essentially like kind of like a slogan that you can think of.
And going back to the whole making the product aesthetically pleasing and making the like the packaging of the iPhone, making it really nice, it goes beyond just the packaging of the iPhone. Like if you ever walk into an Apple store, you notice how nice it looks. You notice how engaged the Apple employees are. It seems like Apple just specifically picks employees that are passionate and that know a lot about tech. It reflects well on pricing.
Yeah. In fact, go ahead.
And Apple, if you just walk into an Apple store, you'll see all the products displayed nice and orderly. You can sample them, you can test them out, and it just gets straight to the point. Apple representative will come to you, tell you what you need to know, and bada bing, bada boom, you get your product.
So with that, you know, obviously, you go to an Apple store and you know the buying process. Most of us know the buying process. They pretty much, I don't know if they're the first. They're probably not the first. They're usually not the first on anything, but they revolutionized the buying process. Not just in simplicity, but also in the Apple store specifically, they got rid of the checkout area.
Yeah.
Now all you do is speak to whoever you want. Pretty much, they have an iPad on them or an iPhone, and you check out just by talking to them. Just be like, yeah, I want to get this watch band. And so when they do that, they're like, okay, let me get this device real quick. And then you just swipe your card on the phone.
Yeah.
Or use Apple Pay, like somehow, you know, you use it on the phone. I remember when I was getting my Apple Watch.
I use Apple Pay all the time.
Yeah, I use it all the time. It's amazing. But like,
just double tap the home button.
Yeah.
Boom.
And even that. So simplifying payment, like we were saying.
Yeah.
With the whole idea of simplification of everything. Simplifying payment. Before, you know, you're taking out your card, you're swiping. It could get read by a fingerprint like grabber or a card grabber or whatever it is, what they call it, especially around here. And then you lost your card information stuff because someone jacked your number and they're spending other things.
Absolutely.
Now you use your fingerprint, or nowadays with the iPhone 10, you're using your iris your eye thing, your Face ID.
Face ID.
And your
which is apparently more secure than
And so it makes it simple in that you're paying for things, and so you're just bringing out your phone that you already have anyway. Just, you know, double tap the home button, and then you just put it up to the device that has the support, and then bam, that's all you do. You're on your way.
Boom.
And it's so simple. You're not like take out the card, wallet, find your card in your wallet like I have to do, and then you have to make sure hopefully like the chip works on the card, or the chip scan thing doesn't work, and then you swipe, and then sometimes it gives an error and all that stuff. No, you just tap and it goes.
Yeah. And it's like they do all these things, right? And another thing that they do, I think one of the most current, like revolutionary advertising strategy that they have is they develop like an aura, kind of a mystery around their products, you know. And I'm getting a lot of this information that I'm getting is from entrepreneur.com. And it basically says like Apple creates a mystery about what they're going to do next when the product launches. So they keep everything under wraps. They keep every single thing under wraps. So when they create this iPhone, the only thing that you're going to get a hint of is when they make mock-up versions of the iPhone to send to case companies that want to build a case for the iPhone, or you know. And it's like, I don't know if you've recently seen this one YouTube video of this little girl. It went trending on YouTube. It sparked a lot of controversy.
I think I know what you're talking about, but keep going.
Yeah, so this little girl, her dad, I wouldn't say little girl. I would say
she's like a teenager.
Late teens, I would say. Her dad is an engineer for Apple. By the way, that's really hard to be.
It really is.
And it probably pays an amazing amount.
Yeah.
She was in the Apple Cafe. They have I believe it was in the headquarters, if I'm mistaken. But they have, I don't know, it might have been in California. They have, I think that's where the headquarters is, actually.
Yeah, it's in California.
Yeah, but they have this cafe where you come and eat. It's like a buffet style cafe, really nice food, tastes delicious. She went there, took her dad's iPhone 10. His dad, because her dad paid for the food, using his employee card on the iPhone 10, the card reader. He just wanted to see if it would work. She took it out and started videotaping the different apps, the new emoticons, which are animations with emojis, using the iris scanner. She took it out and recorded it on her vlog, uploaded the video. All of a sudden, apparently it was a violation of Apple's rules. As much as sorry as she was, and as much as they loved her dad as an employee because he was an amazing engineer, Apple has to keep this policy alive. They have to be strict in order, because if they compromise for one person, they're gonna have to compromise for the other employees. There was a leak in the Apple company. They fired him. They fired her dad. Now it went trending on YouTube. She made an apology video. She was really sad and sorry, but Apple made that move. And it tells you how much they keep things under wraps. And it adds to the mystery of Apple and the marketing power. And that's one of the amazing aspects of Apple that helps them sell their product, is that they keep everything a mystery.
Yeah, I guess so. It's like, I don't know if they were the first. I honestly, I don't know about this, but I'm going to say it anyway. So if any of you guys have been under, have you seen those Apple, the announcement card thing that they send to people who are invited to go to wherever? Yeah. And they're for instance, if there's any Apple announcement that becomes officiated by Apple, on their website you'll see the date that is going to come out, or the announcement is, and it'll be there's so much more to see, or something, some pun relating to the new device or whatever thing they're about to announce. And it's directly related to it, but it's something that when you watch a podcast that's specifically for Apple, that can be their whole podcast, is what does this design mean? If you look it up right now, just look for an Apple event, whatever it's called, card or something like the Apple event thing. It'll often be that's the thing that you see on Engadget and The Verge and a bunch of places. And try to go to images or something. Yeah, and that's what you'll see, and they'll be like that right there. So you'll see it flashed on, or if you're listening, there's an Apple logo here, and you'll see maybe a design in the logo, whatever it is, which that design could be, for instance, the corner of an iPhone that they're announcing, or a device they're announcing. There'll be a certain color on it. It'll look, for instance, the Apple announcements used to have a 3D-ish design. You know, the logo of Apple used to be 3D-ish, and then it became flat recently. The moment it became flat is when iOS, I think it was iOS 4 or 7, I don't know exactly, went flat. Yeah. And so in that announcement, they changed the design of the logo to be flat. Yeah. People were like, what's going on? Why is the Apple logo flat? That's not what their logo looks like. It's 3D. And obviously, when the announcement came on, they were like, iOS, whatever. Now it's flatter, like it is now and stuff like that. It took on this current design. Yeah. And so, it's the teasing of things that attracts people to be curious. It sparks your curiosity, it appeals to your emotions, and that you're like, man, I wonder, I'm curious. And then once you finally get to try it, you're like, oh, man. Your emotions. Yeah. And then you'll be like, oh my God.
Absolutely. That's a perfect segue to their next marketing strategy. Obviously taken from entrepreneur.com. So a lot of this information is taken from entrepreneur.com, but we're also putting our own spin to it, of course. It basically, what Apple does with the commercials, right, is they show people having fun, having a great time, being really happy with their Apple products, like their iPad, their MacBooks, their iPhones. And it appeals more to emotion than it does to them showing but we have 2.4 gigahertz and all Retina display. It's they do make commercials like that. Don't get me wrong. They make a lot of commercials like that with the sleek design, but they use language that appeals to consumers. Retina display, LED backlit, that kind of thing.
I mean, and go ahead.
And they do both specifications, but it's things that consumers can really grasp on. It's now 20% faster with the i10 chip, that kind of thing.
They don't say exactly how fast; they just say 20% faster.
That's all
exactly. We need to know.
And it says, they appeal to emotions like enjoyment, inclusion, that kind of thing. So then like other people like me and you can share their content. Wow, take a look at Apple's new commercial.
And then the reviewers show exactly how fast or how amazing the thing was.
Exactly. I feel like they have a balance of both where it's like they hit that viral phenomenon where they speak on political issues like inclusion, emotion. If you see a lot of companies doing this nowadays where they'll make commercials like, I don't know if you've seen the Airbnb commercial recently, that had like the face of all these different people from all walks of life, like a man with a full beard wearing a turban, a Muslim lady wearing a hijab, and then a black person wearing a hat. Or like they had like all these different people from all different walks of life, and they had one frame where it was like rapid changing of people's faces, right? And it basically propelled this motion of like inclusion, acceptance, and it appealed to everybody's social values, and that kind of sparked a viral trend. We're like, oh wow, look at this amazing commercial, we'll start sharing it now.
So feeding off of that as well, so in the past, let me say the past is the 3D Apple logo days. In the 3D Apple logo days, if you saw the commercials, like we were saying in the very beginning, where like there's like a blind, it's like an auditorium or something like that, or a room, and it's dark, and all of a sudden they unveil the Mac, the Macintosh thing. Yeah. And when they do, it's like I call it the revolutionary phase of them, like in that, or almost like the Apple cult revolutionary phase, in that every commercial they had at the time was like a brand new thing is coming. Because at the time, personal computing was like, you either have a giant box that takes up most of the room, you didn't have a small thing for yourself, which it wasn't small in these times, but small for the time. And so you had just like a design of, you had a commercial that I'll describe it. You had an Apple commercial where I think it was in a dark room and it was pitch black, and there was a bunch of people sitting in rows, almost like you're at church or something. They were watching a screen. And all of a sudden, I think some blinds open up and it reveals like the Mac logo or the Macintosh. And then when you do that, people are like going crazy because it's like, he's like, oh my God, something fresh and brand new is coming out, which at the time it was actually fresh and brand new. Yeah. And so when they did that, it really like, people were like, I want to get a Mac. I want to be fresh and brand new. I want to do this. So again, it's like the clothing trend thing where it's like you see someone popular do it, or you see someone stylish do it, rather.
Yeah, stylish.
And then you want to be like stylish too, so you'll get that thing. Yeah. And that's how they feed it off.
Yeah. And also like, I don't know if you've seen the Apple commercials that do boast specs of the iPhone. They're incredibly visual. Incredibly visual. Like, I don't know if you've seen one of their recent commercials where they have the iPhone, and then they have one 3D rendering where they break apart the iPhone and look at all the different components, like the speakers break apart from the iPhone, the screen breaks apart from the iPhone, and then it snaps back together. And it's like, it does it in slow motion. It's like this incredibly visual representation of the phone that you have in your brain. It's like, it's like, wow, now I understand this product.
Yes. So with that, like the specifics of the commercial, now that I have it here, was actually 1984. Yeah. That was the announcement of the first Macintosh. Yeah. That you could take home. And it's like, it starts off, I'm going to describe it. It starts off with a group of people walking through a tube. It's almost like a dystopian future. They're walking through a tube, like a cult-like, and like they're just marching through, and like a girl comes in, with orange pants on, and like breaks, he's like running across with a hammer.
This is a weird commercial.
It's very weird. I wish I could play it, but he breaks a hammer, and it's almost like a cult, literally. You can tell.
Yeah, literally, they look like they're all
and she's coming through to be like, let's break the cult mood. And then, going through, let's fast forward a little bit. Let me see. She's going to like hoist the hammer, almost like shock putting the hammer a little bit. Let me see. Hammer toss. Let's see. And she breaks it. She breaks the screen that the person's talking at, and everyone's like,
on January 24th, Apple Computer will introduce Macintosh, and you'll see why 1984.
Yep, and those are the retro color days of Apple logo. Yeah. So that introduced people to Macintosh. It's like,
by the way, when he says retro color, it's like basically with the Apple logo with like the
with
rainbow.
A bunch of colors, rainbow. Yeah, and it was like, you see that commercial, and even you were like, that's a weird commercial, But it was a weird time at the time because we had bigger devices at the time. Yeah. And now after that, obviously Microsoft and a bunch of people come along, and now we get every device is portable.
Yeah, when you make a product and you hype it up so much and it lives up to even 60% of what it was hyped up to be, that's enough. That will already propel it,
Yeah.
So Apple makes this bed frame, I guess you can say, our foundation of just amazing product, and then they deliver on it. Sure, it might not be, certain elements of it might not be as good as competitors at times, but still, it's you're buying so much more than the product. Like I said, you're buying the experience of having an Apple product, and that's what differentiates themselves so much from other companies. Now you see Samsung starting to catch on a little bit.
Have you seen the feeding off of that, not just Apple, but if you saw the Surface Hub commercial, when the Surface Hub, Microsoft unveiled that?
Oh yeah,
it appealed to so many of our emotions. It was insane. The music in it was it was on Twitter. They posted a 30-second thing of it. Yeah, and it was an amazing commercial, and I was like, wow, and bravo.
You see Samsung starting to build on a lot of Apple's
with
principles,
S8 especially,
with getting testimonials from influencers or other people that want to review their product. Now they're partnering up with a lot of YouTubers like Casey Neistat, hosting conferences with YouTubers, making the influencers happy to be more engaged in their product. Now you see influencers like iJustine, Apple fangirl, gravitating towards Apple and gravitating towards Samsung and becoming a little bit more comfortable with Samsung.
And by the way, it wasn't Surface Hub, it was Surface Studio. I think I said that already, but just making sure.
Yeah, and that pretty much is the elements that lead to Apple's marketing successes. They build an experience, right? They appeal to emotions, and they build brand loyalty. They look out for loyalty as opposed to anything else, and they communicate in the language of the audience. So in their advertising, they don't use all these complicated words. They create new words: Retina display, Super Retina display, edge-to-edge glass, and all those different things justifying their price. All those different things, dressing normal elements to make them look beautiful. All these different things lead to an amazing product and leads to massive success, as you can see. Apple being a very dominant company. Yeah. And that's what leads to the success.
Yeah, because so what we're saying here is, we're not saying Apple is 100% the perfect company.
Absolutely not.
There's companies now that are obviously way better than Apple at this point. But
argumentatively.
So we're not saying that the perfect company. Obviously, companies have fed off of the way they did their things, which is amazing. In fact,
we're just saying that Apple revolutionized a lot of ordinary things.
Yeah, and they in my words, they kind of brought emotion into marketing. That's a good thing to say. They brought emotion into it.
Not to say that it didn't exist before then. It's just to say
that's what people paid attention to it all of a sudden.
They matched emotion with tech products.
Yeah. So it's just it's an amazing thing.
So any final thoughts on Apple's amazing revolutionary marketing strategy?
No, I think I summarized it in that last line right there. They brought emotion into it.
I think we summarized all 7 plus key strategies taken from Kissmetrics, entrepreneur.com, and that pretty much sums it up. That was the podcast on revolutionary marketing strategies, using Apple as an example, and that's pretty much it. Anything else you want to add or plug in?
No, not really. That's about it.
Make sure you guys stay tuned. Keep up with our podcast on youtube.com/AquaBlack. That's youtube.com/AquaBlack. Make sure you listen to our podcast now on iTunes, on the podcast app on your iPhone. Every iPhone has it. Going to be available on Spotify very soon, as well as Stitcher
Radio.
It's now available on Spreaker. Make sure you follow us on Twitter to get updated on any recent videos. Twitter.com/AquaBlackX, AquaBlackX. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, MJ_Slam. That's MJ_SLAM. And we're going to enjoy our Friday.
Yep, we will.
Peace.